Order up!
Welcome to Overproof. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and in this episode, I'm joined by my partner Andrea to interview the one and only Hugh Leech. Hugh is one of the founders and the head of production for Marionette Liqueurs. Marionette is a multi-award-winning Australian liqueur company. It was founded in 2016 by four, what I would say, not your typical distillers, but four passionate industry professionals. We both really resonate with their ethos of using Australian grown or locally grown produce wherever possible. I have to say I'm a pretty huge fan. The really potent flavour in their liqueurs make for some pretty awesome cocktails. This episode was sponsored by I Love Ponsonby and recorded in Pastel Bar at 155 Ponsonby Road, Auckland. Thank you so much to I Love Ponsonby for believing in the concept of New Zealand BarCon and supporting the New Zealand bar and beverage industry to come together and to grow stronger. Today we are giving a special shout out and thank you to Pastel for hosting this episode. Pastel is one of the many incredible Ponsonby establishments in Auckland who deserve your love and attendance. So next time you need an excuse for a drink, check out the cute and colourful Pastel at 155 Ponsonby Road, Auckland.
Order up!
Without further ado, here is our interview with Hugh. Welcome to the show. Why don't we start with you giving us a little introduction about yourself and what your role is at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Hugh, and I am the head distiller or head of production for Marionette Liqueurs, which is a Melbourne-based liqueur brand. We make a whole range of different things. We've been around for 7 years now, and I spend most of my time putting different kinds of fruit in tanks and stills.
That's exciting.
But you do have a background in hospitality.
I do, yes. I first started I actually used to work with coffee, primarily in Canberra, which is where I grew up, and then I moved out to Melbourne, and I got a job at Gin Palace as a glassy, and I really loved that. And obviously I got really into gin, made a lot of very big martinis, worked a lot of very late nights.
As we do.
Yeah. And so I was there for, I think it was about 4.5 years, and then I left and I worked at a place called the Bitters Lab, or Only Bitters, which is in Collingwood, and they import a whole bunch of really specialised vermouths and amari and bitters, obviously, and also cocktail gear and that kind of thing. And so I was doing the on-trade sales for that, which was really interesting. Obviously got a lot of insight into a lot of those like herbal kind of things, infusions, bitters, how they're all made, that kind of thing, which was really interesting. And I was there for a year, and then after that I worked at Melbourne Gin Company for about 4.5 years. And I know Andrew from there through Gin Palace. We were one of the first places to suck his gin. I always really loved it. And now, as of about 18 months ago, I am full-time with Marionette.
Amazing.
So while I was working with the Bitters Lab at Melbourne Gin Company, we started Marionette, and that was always the kind of the side hustle, and now it is the full-time.
I do remember actually, as soon as I moved to Melbourne, one of my first training was at Gin Palace.
Oh, really?
It was was the Melbourne Gin Launch, would have been, or something about that. And we were in the back room. But I do remember you because we used to work at Botanicals House, and at one point, Maiden Earth came out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you were there as well.
Yeah, I was doing a little bit of work for that. So that one of my business partners in Marionette also owns Maiden and I was doing a little bit of work for him as well. And that all fit into the kind of the Bitters Lab thing as well, because we were doing a lot of vermouth and herbal things there.
I think I do remember the first time that you guys, that Maiden Eyes infused Australian black truffles to make the Nocturne. It was like, I think I spent all my salary that week to buy 3 bottles of it. I have a problem with truffle and I have a problem with both.
He does have a problem with truffle.
Yeah. It's okay.
All Italians, right?
Yeah.
And why or how did you end up in your current role?
Marionette is owned by, there's 4 of us in the business. So there's myself, Nick Tassard, who now works for 4 Pillars, and he was at Bar Liberty for a long time, Sean Byrne, who co-owns Maiden Eye, and Lauren Bukowski. So Sean, Nick, and myself all used to work at Gin Palace together. So he was my first manager. Nick had been hired a couple of months before me. Lauren used to work at Madame Brussels, which was at the time owned by the same company as well. So it was all very connected there. And Sean originally came up with the idea, which was that basically there was obviously a lot of Australian spirits being made. There was a lot of Australian gin, there was a lot of Australian rum. This is about probably 2016. So you're starting to see like a lot more of that kind of Australian gin coming through. People were making Australian whiskey, Sullivan's Cove, etc. But nobody was making Australian liqueurs. And Australia is quite unique in the world in that we can basically make, or we grow fruit that you use in traditional European liqueurs, but it can all be grown on the Lake continent. So,
especially Queensland.
Yeah. But like you literally do have, you've got everything from Tasmania, which is functionally like Scotland, and like Western Europe, all the way up to Queensland, where you've got like everything tropical.
Yeah.
That was kind of the idea, was like no one else is making these classic cocktail liqueurs, and as we all had bartending backgrounds, we were saying like we're all using a bottle of Cointreau a week, we're all using a bottle of Cassis, that kind of thing, but nobody else is making this. So we kind of decided that we should give that a crack. And Nick and myself essentially took on the production role. Obviously, as I said, it was a side hustle, so we were always trying to get it wherever we could and carve out a bit of time for ourselves. But yeah, so Nick and I basically did all the production of it, and then over time it just got to the point where we needed to spend a bit more time on it. We were also in the process of looking to actually get our own site and that kind of thing, because we were working with a whole bunch of different distilleries, and also the 4 Pillars thing came up with Nick, and so I kind of went, look, I'm going to take the next step and go full-time with Marionette. And so now I do more of that. Nick still does a bit of work for Marionette, but yeah, I'm full-time in terms of the production thing. So there wasn't necessarily a lot of, I guess, formal studying or anything. I'm actually doing a distillation course now, but in the same way that I think so many Australian distillers have done, they basically just kind of learnt on the job. And we were really lucky because we did work with several different distilleries around Melbourne over time, so we got to get a lot of knowledge from them, and the community was really helpful.
I think you don't really need that kind of, I now distill a delicious liqueur and then I need to go and do a course because that's the right thing. It is the right thing, but you can also achieve that just with common sense and with flavor that I guess you developed.
Yeah, and I think that's probably something that also was really informed Marionette, is obviously, again, we all have bartending backgrounds, so the way that we do things, we try to kind of extract every part of, or every bit of flavour that we can out of whatever fruit we're using, which I think is pretty similar. I would say I haven't been to your bar before, but I'd say it's pretty similar to maybe what you guys do a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And a lot of bars all over the world. And also the fact that we use, like, a lot of our liqueurs are lower sugar than kind of traditional liqueurs, which again, you know, as a bartender, it's really easy to make something sweeter, but it's hard to take it away. So the whole idea with Marionette was that we would have these like really intensely flavoured liqueurs, and then if you needed to balance the cocktail, you can always add sugar syrup, but you can't take it away. So yeah, you kind of give you that option, and if you make something that's really punchy in flavour, so then the flavour will still carry through even if you need to cut it back with a little bit of sugar syrup or something like that.
I think is a good approach because you're not over adding something that then it's hard to balance on a cocktail. Think about Cointreau, how sweet it is, and how it's then hard to add a little bit more extra lime juice, and maybe not adding the sugar syrup is not going to give you the same texture over time. But I think what you guys doing is really pushing the boundaries of creating something that is unique because it's uniquely Australian. And this comes down to how you guys, like the sort of ethos of Marionette.
Absolutely. That was obviously a big part of when we were starting. It was, how are we going to do this? Where are we going to get fruit from? What do we actually want to do? And one of the cool things that we were really committed to was working directly with Australian farmers. I think there are some times where we can't get stuff absolutely directly. So for instance, like almonds have to be processed, so we have to buy them from a wholesaler, but we always know the farm that those almonds come from, and we can kind of trace that back.
That's cool.
And we've had some pretty funny adventures. The farmers don't really have websites.
Tell us one of your favorite stories.
One of the first ones, Nick actually found our berry farmer, and I'm not exactly sure how he did that, but they're in Tasmania. They've got these really incredible berries. But one of the first ones that I did was Nick and I drove up to Mildura, which is basically 8 hours drive from Melbourne, but you're still in the same state. So it's essentially on the edge of the desert. And pretty much all you drive past is like grain silos and train stations while you're driving up there. So it's a pretty long flat drive.
Imagine that, 8 hours.
But we had some meetings booked in to try and find a citrus grower or an orange farmer, because we obviously wanted to make orange liqueur. We knew that was going to be a big part of what we did. And we went around to a couple of farms. And the hardest part was trying to find Seville oranges, which are the traditional marmalade oranges. So they're bitter, they've got really amazing oil skin and that kind of thing, but they're not that commercially viable anymore, simply because not many people actually eat marmalade. And also a lot of marmalade is now made out of sweet oranges anyway. So we had a chat to a guy at a farm, and he goes, "Oh yeah, look, we don't grow these, but this guy down the road, he does. So just drive down there, and he's got like a green ute, and his name's Glenn, and just see if he's it." And so that is literally what we did. We just drove into this guy's farm, and then luckily he was there. He was obviously like, who are these? We were in like a little hatchback or something too. This is obviously not a local. But he was really awesome, and we kind of just got out and we had a chat to him. We were like, this is what we're trying to do. And I think he was probably a bit weird about it, to be fair, because obviously two guys that basically just got out of the property and said, "Hey, could we buy oranges off you?"
So what do you want from me, man? It's not just oranges.
Yeah, we've been working with him for 6 years now, and he's really amazing. He's got really awesome citrus, and it's, I guess, for us also just like finding those people that really care about what they do, and they're definitely one of those. And his dad's got really into orange curacao now, and every time he talks to other farmers, they're like, "Oh, he's making booze with it. Can we get some of that?" And he's in Australia once with him down at Duke Palace drinking something with curacao in it. That was just, it's awesome. So that's, I think, a really fun part of what we do is this kind of interaction. We've got like an amazing apricot farmer, and he bought some of our apricot brandy for, I think it was like a friend's wedding or something. So I think a lot of the time it's also really fun for them to have that, I can actually see where it goes. And say, I sent those guys those oranges, and then this is what they come out with. So
I think we would have the same interactions at the bar, right?
Yeah.
We try and meet the people that we work with.
Yeah.
The source produce from, and they'll always come into the bar and be like, "Show me the cocktail that you made with my persimmons."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think it's really
cool.
special for a lot of people, because we had one of the berry farmer went into Pearl once, and it wasn't long after we first released the cassis actually, and they had a cocktail and with it at the attic, and so he was just blown away that he could go to one of the best bars in Melbourne, and I actually grew those berries.
I think they take pride in what they do, because it's really hard to find those personalities with this great produce, but also you, as somebody that needs to source your ingredients, you need to put and invest your time to go and spend time with those people, because it's not a meeting that you just say, "Hey man, give me some oranges and bring you some booze." No, you actually have to stay there. You have to listen to their story and just blend into their life a little bit before you can get that connection, because it's pretty personal.
And it is pretty amazing the amount of effort that a lot of these guys put in, because they're working so hard. Obviously, you guys know the farmers work like absolutely crazy, so it's pretty amazing like how much time they'll spend, or how much extra effort some of them will go to just to make sure that we get what we need. And we also try and do what we can to help them if it's in fruit or something that's been storm damaged and that kind of thing, where they wouldn't be able to sell it to a supermarket. We try and kind of take it wherever we can, or even get fruit before a storm comes through. If they say, "Hey, we need to pick this stuff straight away," we're like, "Yep, let's do what we can," which isn't always a huge amount in the grand scheme of things, but we do what we can.
Yeah, I think it's really important, because of course those people that are going to waste, and they're going to feed animals with that, which is not the worst. If it's possible to help them and give them some cash support, or just
exactly. I think that's the big effort for all of them. It's just the tiny amounts of money that they get paid for seconds fruit, whereas if it's okay, I'm just going to pay what you would normally get. It makes a small difference, but like it definitely makes a difference.
It's a huge difference for them. Not so much for you maybe, but for them for sure. And we heard we find a new house.
Yes.
For Marionette.
So for a long time when we started Marionette, we didn't have our distillery. So we were working in, as I said, a lot of different distilleries, and that was actually really good because we learned a lot from other people, which I think is definitely something I would recommend if anyone is out there listening to this and thinking about starting their own distillery. I definitely go spend as much time you can at other people's houses.
Yep.
I would say I've heard the same feedback from a lot of people that I know who have started distilling.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same as bars, right? Like, you wouldn't just start a bar if you knew. I mean, I guess you would, but like, assuming you don't know anything about hospitality, like you wouldn't start a bar and expect yourself to do really well. You'd expect that you would spend a bit of time on the bars first.
Yes, absolutely.
And work out what works really well and what doesn't. But
you'd be surprised in New Zealand.
You would expect, yeah.
You'd be surprised in New Zealand how many people have bars and they have absolutely zero experience in hospitality.
To be fair, my first job was in a cafe, and I asked the boss why they started this cafe. He was like, "Oh yeah, we thought it would be a fun retirement project." And I said, "How's that going?" Is that right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Retirement with coffee, probably no, mate. You're not making money with that.
But yeah, so we'd been looking for a couple of months, and we finally signed a lease on a house. A year ago. Oh, sorry, it was a bit older than that. It was like February last year. And then, we spent basically a year building it, which was definitely a process. But yeah, it's really exciting. So we finally got everything under one roof. We've got our own still. We're making we always have made all of our own products, but we're making them all in the same location now, which is really exciting. And it also is really nice to give us a bit more opportunity to do kind of more smaller fun stuff, a little bit more testing and research and development just to see what happens. So that's been really big, I guess, a really big step for Marionette, because essentially for all the years before that, we were working up towards getting our own distillery.
Yeah.
And now we've finally done that. That's what is the next step.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're going to work that one out. But it's really nice to have everything under one direction, and it's up.
Not going up and down.
Does it feel like it puts more pressure on that you have a spot now, or is it more exciting?
I actually would say probably if anything takes pressure off.
Okay.
Like not spending as much time driving between distilleries. Because I honestly think I'd probably spend about 8 hours a week previously just going, I'm going to go to this place and I'm going to go to this place, and we had our own warehouse, but it was just like, I was just constantly playing pinball with myself basically. So now it's really nice to just basically rock up and go, everything we need is here. I haven't forgot the pump in like a different distillery or in the warehouse. I haven't forgot hose. So it's really good in that respect.
Yeah, cool.
Do the still have a name?
Not really, actually. We were talking about calling it Elmo, but I think we'd be sued. So the whole puppet thing, a red puppet. But we haven't. It's undecided. We're open to suggestions if anyone wants to.
If somebody wants to put a name,
if you want to email the suggestions box, please do. I'm open. But it's a pretty classic, I guess a hybrid kind of gin still. It's pretty similar to what you'd see in most distilleries now. Nothing fancy the colour or anything like that. But it's just like a pot still with a little column. With 5 plates and a little gin basket, and then
gin basket for just different aromas and flavors. And
we mostly use it actually for in the orange curacao. We use blood oranges and we distill them whole, and we basically chop them up. But we use some in the basket and some in the pot, so you get that really nice kind of like soft vapor extraction. That's really, really nice and like fruity and juicy, which is pretty fun.
What is your core range at the moment for Marionette?
Actually, there's quite a lot. That's the liqueur game. So we've got 3 different orange products. So the orange curacao, which is like a classic orange liqueur. We make a blue curacao, which is obviously really fun. Got a bit of mandarin in that one as well. Cool. And a bitter curacao, which is our take on kind of like an Italian, so that classic orange base, but with a few bittering herbs. Cool. 2 stone fruits, so we've got a peach liqueur and we've got brandy liqueur. We've got an amaretto, a nocino, which is green walnut for all the non-Italians out there. That one we actually did originally with Orlando from We've got 3 different berry liqueurs, a blackberry, the blackcurrant, the dry cassis, which was our first liqueur, and we won best liqueur in Australia with that one a couple of times.
It's delicious.
And a red currant, which is rosé, which is a little bit left of field, but we just make a little bit of that because our berry farmer has red currants in it. They're really cool. And we've just released the pineapple, which is really exciting. And Sammy got a taste of that one, so that's really delicious.
Get ready, people. Get ready.
Unfortunately for those listening to news in New Zealand, not all of this stuff is available, but pineapple is coming in the next couple of months through Middle Wine. And what else? I feel like I'm forgetting things.
Did you do any special release?
Yes, we did do a special release. We did a collab with 4 pillars, which was pretty cool. You obviously snagged yourself a model, which is pretty delicious. That was quite a cool story too, actually. So obviously we did the 4 pillars guys for a really long time. We actually did the 4 pillars launch at Gin Palace back in like 2013. And so we had, with our Curacao, we actually barreled it in French oak. And so we sent them some of our Curacao barrels, and they filled them with gin. And then a couple of years later, they sent us the gin back, and this is like Navy strength gin. It was about 60%. And we pulled the gin out, and so now we had gin barrels. And what we did was we put essentially a really like high alcohol version of our Curacao in the gin barrels, and we aged that for a while. And then we took all of that stuff out. So we had the Curacao barrel-aged gin, the gin barrel-aged Curacao. We combined them together, and we put in a little bit more Curacao. This is actually all Nick's work, because he did the recipe for this. And yeah, we added a little bit more normal Curacao just to freshen it up a little bit, because obviously there was quite a lot of oak going on. Yeah. And then we bottled it. So it's a old-fashioned gin liqueur. It's really delicious. I'm actually really happy with how it turned out. It's a bit of a wizard when it comes to flavour. Cocktails notes, but it's almost like an old-fashioned in a bottle. So normally we recommend just kind of pouring it out over the rocks. But otherwise, it also, I think you told me that you used it in place of Nonino, weirdly enough, in a paper plate, which could be interesting. But
also for the price of Nonino.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, unfortunately, that is only going to be available through us in Australia and through the 4 Pillar sale malls and stuff like that. So
sorry, New Zealand.
Yeah, unfortunately not.
You can come at the bar at Teresa. We have a bottle there. If you all want to come and try it.
We don't. Anyone's flying over to Australia and wants to
exactly. If you're going to Yarra Valley.
I have a couple of business questions for you.
Oh yeah, cool. Fire away.
From starting your own business, is there, first of all, what do you think that you've done like really well, and what has been successful for the business?
I think probably one of the best things is probably having a niche.
Yeah.
Like we had 3 bartenders that worked in a gin bar, and we didn't decide to make a gin.
Yes.
Like it is harder because selling liqueur in retail is way harder than selling gin. Everyone knows what they like to do with gin. You're always having to explain to people what to do with it from a retail point of view. Obviously, like it's very different with bars, but that just means that most of our business is on premise. So you do paint yourself into a corner to some extent, but I also think that is a strength in terms of the fact that we're not competing with loads of other brands. Yeah. Trying to do the same thing and try to differentiate ourselves. So I think like having that niche has been really, I think that's probably a lot of the success of it. I think for us as well, probably just our experience with hospitality and cocktails and that kind of thing that we really, I guess we had quite a strong feeling about what we wanted to do. So we weren't, I'm not going to say we weren't ever reactive, but like we were quite strong about, okay, we want to make cocktail, like we want to make liqueurs, like obviously with liqueurs there's so many, so we kind of already had a list of there's 20 different liqueurs we could make, so which ones are we going to make? So I think that was pretty great, and then also having good distribution has made a massive difference. So being with Vanguard in Australia, and also like we work with 2 other smaller producers in South Australia and Tasmania, and that is a really important thing out of the shop.
And then, what do you wish you did differently?
Oh God. That's gonna take a definitely had conversations with my business partners about if we didn't together, this would be so much easier. Yeah. It's hard to, I think it's just a lot of small things.
Yeah.
There's not necessarily, I don't think there's ever been anything massive that I was like, oh yeah, that was like a real big hindsight 2020. I definitely wouldn't do that again.
That's good.
Which it's pretty lucky for sure. Yeah, like it wasn't. There's no massive, really big ones. I don't think. A lot of it is just small stuff, like just understanding, like glass ordering and logistics and lots of stuff like that. Where it's okay, now I understand how the whole ecosystem works and how freight works and like where you get everything from, that kind of thing. So that would be a lot easier if I did it again. What else? In Australia, I probably would just like the tax regime in Australia is pretty rough. Yeah. So that's again one of those things where like It's not really possible with Marionette, but there's part of me that's, man, I wish I'd made wine product. So that's not really a regret for Marionette. That's just more a regret for the way that Australian tax works.
You can't change that, can you?
That's a much bigger battle with me. I think a lot of it would just be kind of just stuff. And I guess probably the other thing would be, I don't think it's really a regret for Marionette, but obviously if you can start with more money, it just makes a lot of business stuff easier.
Totally.
But saying that, I think the way that we did it in terms of not actually building a distillery style was probably really good for us, because it meant that we could take the best parts of all the distilleries that we'd worked in and kind of condense them. So I think that actually if we built a distillery at the start, we would have realised in about 3 years that we'd built it wrong, and we would have had to redo the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but also I think it's like really cool for you because you're going to a distillery.
Yeah.
Different distillery, different knowledge. And I think
and obviously it depends what you're making. Every distillery is specialised to whatever they're making, but I think working in so many different spaces and seeing like what stuff really worked and what stuff really didn't was a really important part of it.
Did you guys learn any different skills or something from the distilleries that you were in?
Absolutely, like we worked with a lot of people that had really amazing knowledge, and so we got a lot of that. Everything from like kind of fine-tuning recipes for the way that we distilled stuff, process it, like even a lot of the setup stuff when we were going through the setup, because obviously we've got a bunch of people that had already gone through that, so we were able to call them and they were super helpful. So we were really lucky there. And there was a lot of people who were like, oh hey, what should we be looking at from a council point of view? What kind of zoning do you want? People would be like, oh, we're in this zone, or we had these issues, or actually if you go over there, this is better. So it's we were really lucky with the amount of help that we got from everyone else, which is really clever.
That's cool.
Where do you guys think you're going now? What's the plan?
Yeah, that's probably a little bit of a hard one, because obviously, as I said, that's where we've got to now has been so much of the journey. So now we are kind of just in a point of maybe reflection is probably the word for what does Marionette want to do in the next 5 years. At the moment, it's probably still kind of settling into the space. Finally having a bit more time to work on new projects and that kind of thing. So we've got a couple of little like collabs that are going to be coming out. Obviously we've released a new product, which is the first time we've done that in a while, which is really fun. Really nice to have something new and delicious to talk about. But I'm not personally clear on the goals for the next 5 years. I think it's most about like kind of taking a bit of a moment and going like, all right, cool, what does Marionette look like in another 5 years? Now we've got this kind of set up.
It's really nice that you can get to that point in a business where you can be like, cool, so now...
Yeah, exactly, I think that's also really important, is actually taking the time to think about it and go, okay, we spent so much time doing this, so what's the next step? And I don't know, I wouldn't say I have an answer right now, but obviously I'd always like a bigger distillery, but that's really interesting.
I just built a distillery, I want a bigger one.
I reckon since you guys have started Marionette, there's now other competitors that have come out since you guys have started?
A little bit, I don't think there's necessarily anything that is... Like, there's a lot of distilleries that make liqueurs as a side project to their main focus. So there's a lot of places in Australia that there might be like a gin distillery, but they'll make something that's a little bit like a red Italian beer, or they'll make a orange liqueur or something, but that's not just what they do. They mostly would say, hey, we make gin. Or hey, we make whiskey, or whatever that is. You are starting to see that change a little bit. So there are a couple of Australian brands now that are just focused on liqueur making. I don't think anyone that, I guess, specifically overlaps with us in terms of the Venn diagram. There's not anyone that's, as far as I know, that's going the whole specifically directly from farmer, that kind of, I guess, like
farm to glass. To still.
Yeah, exactly. But there's definitely, there's a couple of Australian liqueur brands now. So people are starting to go like, actually, this is something that, this thing. There's a bit of business in this, and it's worth doing. But it's good call too, because there are like there's really interesting other liqueurs that I've tried, and it's really nice to see that. And I think the thing with liqueurs is, especially if you look at the French bands, like most of them make 30 or 40 different flavors. So there's so much room in that respect, where people are like, oh, you guys already make 10 things. And I was like, no, if this was France, I'd be like, this would be a quarter of the portfolio. So
like about a full,
so realistically, we could keep releasing liqueurs for the next 30 years or something. just basically be like, all right, we're now finished. Yeah, I think there's still like a lot of other stuff we could do, and there's also obviously a lot of room for other people to do stuff. But it's cool, and I think, yeah, as I said, Australia's in a pretty unique position to make all this stuff, so it's pretty cool to see what other people are doing too.
Yeah.
More of a sort of forager / native botanical user question.
Yeah, sure.
Would you be going into potentially with Marionette to go and do distilling a sort of Australian native botanicals into liqueurs, or is being close to your mind? You tried it. It's just as a question on.
We do. Yeah, I don't think it's ever really going to be a massive part of what we do.
Yeah.
Obviously, as I said, there's a lot of people that kind of do that to some extent in Australia as well. You've got in Brookies and Macadamia. Obviously, the guys from Applewood, that's a real focus of their brand.
Yeah.
I think because from the onset, the brand has really been about that kind of classic cocktail liqueur side of things. I don't think we would go there. I'm not ever going to say never. And occasionally we do use either in the cheetah we use a little bit of bottle seed and that kind of thing. But I don't think, at least at this stage, I don't think it's going to be a massive part of what we do. I think there are probably people in Australia who do that better than us.
Yeah.
Pretty comfortable with that.
Yeah, and you found your style. You want that classic, really delicious liqueur, but you try to highlight.
Yeah, and I think there are some really interesting uses of native ingredients, obviously stuff like Midnight, stuff like the Applewood guys are doing, especially things like Ochre, because obviously that is kind of not the liqueur category, and it can be super super delicious and really interesting, but it's not so much of what we're looking for just classic cocktail liqueurs. But there's some cool stuff. So we're working on a limited edition plum and shochu liqueur for a restaurant group in Sydney.
Wow.
It's going to be available. Or just we just sell it through our website basically, and then basically buy all of it. So we're doing some stuff like that.
Yeah.
For specific groups, if
exactly. And also just because now we have the ability to do that because everything's in house. So
with Distillery.
Exactly. Or it would be nah, man, this is just too hard. Whereas now it's we can just do that. That's fine.
Would you do the special collabs? Of course, it has to be tied up to volume, right?
Yeah, most of the time, pretty much, yeah. Because if we're going to go through all the effort of getting the fruit and everything else, then it's going to be a certain amount of commitment to volume. Yeah. Sometimes it depends a little bit on the thing. If it's really easy for us to do, we could just make 50 litres if it was worth it for a marketing point of view.
Mm-hmm.
But that would also, it would just depend on the fruit. If it was okay, if it's something that we can get anyway, from an orange farm or something, which is, okay, we buy 3 boxes of oranges of some special thing, I'll give you some weed citrus or something like that.
Yeah.
Then we could potentially do that, but it just depends on that.
It has to make sense for both ways. For
the
person that.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess for us as well, if we're not going to make enough of this that we're going to make money on it, then it's got to be worth it from a marketing point of view. So we've got to get a lot out of it from the collab point of view, so it's got to be something that has a really good reach or something. But it's cool. It's really nice because obviously we weren't able to do that stuff before, and now it's kind of got to the point where it's cool, we can just actually say yes to things and just go, yep, cool, let's do that.
Well, don't say that because now it's gonna be phone calls. Hey.
Yeah, that might be a complicated middle conversation. The problem is for them is just how they fucking bring it over. It's going to cost you guys $60 all the time, $80 a bottle.
But that's alright.
Yeah, still worth it. So what are you going to do?
Okay, Sarah, we'll do it anyway. But it's really cool to hear the stories, though. I think it's really important as well for the generation of hospitality in New Zealand to hear the stories, because there might be somebody that can pick up some of this inspiration from you guys as well to create something similar, because I think as well as in Australia, New Zealand has got some great produce. Very seasonal. Unfortunately, we don't have anything like Queensland. Yeah,
that's what we should do. We should do
we go.
I'm not gonna make any promises, but I kind of see it.
For all the Kiwis in Australia to be happy.
That'd be so funny
when there's Feijoa season.
I'm not gonna lie. I've never had fresh Feijoa.
What?
And I've only ever had, because I think Garage Project did a Feijoa beer. I've tried a bunch of Feijoa infused stuff. Yeah. I've always hated it. I've always been this is fucking gross.
It kind of tastes like lava.
Yeah, but I think every time I tasted it, it's just been really, I don't know, dirty?
I think it's a very specific flavor. I think if you try it...
I think the problem, the problem is I haven't had it fresh, so like all of these Kiwis are like, fuck yeah, man, Feijoa is the best. I'm like, I tried this like Feijoa, it's kind of terrible. Like, why are you guys obsessed with this flavor? But I think it's that thing where it's like, yeah, maybe I actually just haven't had a good one, and I haven't actually tried it fresh, because everyone, it's super tropical, it's got this really nice, like kind of guava-y flavor.
Yeah.
So I think I just need to go out and actually get a good Feijoa and have it.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck with that, for real. I think I've seen a lot of Australian, especially when it's Feijoa season in New Zealand, being like, oh, there's somebody in Melbourne have a Feijoa tree.
Can't get rid of them. They're just
fucking
everywhere. They're on the side of the road. Everyone just boxes them.
No, everyone else has them. Fuck off.
The problem is because they use it as a shrub, as a sort of the property divider, and then it throws so much fruit, and then it rots, and then you have the smell, the birds. So people that like just put boxes, and this is how we also tried it.
That's your job.
Yeah. That's
jobs.
Yeah, exactly. Just try to run a bar, and do a podcast, have a baby.
Yeah.
End of a move, mate.
End of a move.
Oh, sweet. Nothing else?
Yeah, no worries.
Liqueur brands.
Yeah, it makes me feel really good about the time I had my job. I had another job. I thought that was fucking hell. You guys like it's exposure.
Yeah,
We have a bit of free time sometime. Yeah.
Yeah.
What, every like 4 weeks?
Yeah.
One day.
I'll tell you when I get it.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say thank you so much for your time. Great, and at least to like talk about your experience, and hope that your experience as well would kind of inspire.
What you guys are doing, obviously, with the move, but also with Marionette, because we're all a bit younger in there, is good too. Because they can be like, hey guys, you can just do this. It can be younger.
Yeah, it is. I think there's a new generation coming up.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty important for a lot of... Yeah, because I think I've definitely talked to a couple of people in Australia recently, and obviously they, I can't work nights forever, so what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people are like, I'd like to get into distilling, but I don't know how to do that. So you can actually.
Yeah, you actually can. Just finding the right person.
Yeah, and it's fucking hard when you don't have money, but at the same time, it's like it actually is an option if you want to, or you can get into the distilling industry yourself by trying to find somewhere to work.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of important.
I mean, if you put your mind into it.
Yeah.
Anything can be done if you ask enough people.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's your theory. I just keep asking people.
Hey, do you want to do this?
And now we have Barcon.
That's what I've been doing. I've been just like calling people. Do you want to be part of it? Yeah. I was like, okay, Sarah, you organize this Barcon.
Hey guys, I've accidentally started a Barcon.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I told you a few people about it when I was drunk.
And they all said yes.
And then they said yes, and then eventually I actually got serious.
We actually made a page, and then it all got serious.
Yeah. And now we're here.
I think it's super awesome.
Yeah.
No,
Really?
It's really exciting, actually.
Yeah. It's super inspiring.
the fact that like when we put out this New Zealand Barcon, a lot of people got excited, so excited that they were like, okay, we want to bring just people, and we can be doing so much for the Barcon, but a lot of the backbone work has been done by our great sponsors, and we could not be happier to have them on board as well.
Seriously, yeah.
It's been incredible. And that shows you that New Zealand hospitality in a way is getting closer and closer for a better future. We hope so.
Yeah, we hope so. That's the point.
Why did you guys pick?
Oh my god, don't ask me that question. We were insane. We lost our minds.
Is that where your family is?
No.
Okay. I was just looking at it being like, why?
During COVID, I guess COVID made people do crazy things. During COVID,
It's one of those.
We had both pretty much lost it. I was actually tour guiding, like driving a bus and taking tourists around the country, and he had just interviewed actually to be the brand ambassador for Campari.
Oh, nice.
And then, but COVID happened, so they were like, we're not hiring this role anymore.
We're hiring next year. I'm like,
Yeah, well, next year, but next year in 3 years.
yeah, exactly.
And I just didn't really have anything in Auckland.
Yeah.
And he got offered a role in Napier at what seemed to be a really good restaurant. He lasted 3 weeks, but we moved down, and when we moved down, there were so many people that were our age that had come back because of COVID. So it was a
Melbourne,
really fun
London,
vibe.
Sydney.
You had the best produce in the country. Like the produce there is so good.
Cool,
so for like our ethos,
So
of
it
the
makes a lot of
bar,
sense.
the problem is now that we've had a cyclone, which just destroyed the region, destroyed half the produce,
Fuck.
and people stopped going out. So there's a whole other thing there.
That was actually, to be honest, one of the craziest time, because we opened in December, first of all. So we're just at the start of the summer season in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And now it's third year in, and you can see how now all the stone fruit berries are now being delayed by over 3 weeks to 4 weeks. So it's almost like mid-December is when you can actually start to get fruits, unless you come up to Auckland and get them from here, but it's not the same story. And so it's when the cyclone arrived, which it was February, we had gathered all our menu items, did all the syrup, so we're going to launch it, because we launch it usually.
The power went out for a week.
Our power went out for a week.
We had no cell phone reception, no communication
for a week.
at all. Yeah.
So we lost all our cheeses, all our meats, all our prep fermenting, and once the electricity came out, we were like, our old menu ran out.
Yeah.
And we were like, what? Fuck, what are we doing? So we went down to, okay, cool, we got backpacks and we started foraging. So we just went down to some artichoke, dandelion roots, and we just went down to like roots and whatever we could find. But definitely for produce, I can tell you that I would 100% of the produce that we use in the menu, we probably pay only the 20%. The rest is being donated by farmers. But just asking a simple question of, hey, what you do with these berries? And they're like, do you want it? Yes. Okay. Yeah, there's about 100 kilos there. You take it. What are you about to do with all those apples? Nothing. Pick whatever you want and take it over, bring in your cut. So it's like, it was easier for us, but now we are into that point of, as I said before, recession, all of that. And we kind of wanted to, different priority in life with the kid, and you're like, it's time to move on, but also it's hard to move on once
What I've been saying on repeat the whole day is the reason that we started the Bark On was because the bar itself, which was like our baby, has been almost like, since the cyclone, just really, like, we're really proud of what we've done. We think the bar itself is amazing and what we do is amazing, but because it's so quiet, it's negative and it's a little bit, we were just spiraling a bit. And so we went on this trip to Nicaragua in February, and then when we came back, we just hung out with 60 different other people that worked in hospitality, and we came back and we were so inspired, and we're like, all right.
So we need to do this.
Yeah, we just need to do something that gives us like a positive.
Well, not just us, but even the actual nation overall, to be like, there's something that all of us can look for next year. That we have 3 days where really great people come to New Zealand. They're going to inspire us with some cool chats, with some great sort of seminars, and take all this knowledge and just put them into work. And I think if we don't have that, people, what would they be in the industry for? There's nothing that keep them happy and satisfied.
That's disturbing.
But again, thank you so much, brother. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you in.
And with that rather abrupt end to the episode, thank you so much to Hugh for taking the time to sit down and chat all things about his career in the industry and Marionette with us. A big special thank you to Mineral and to Marionette for sponsoring Hugh to come over and chat all things liqueurs and flavour with us for New Zealand Bark On. And then one more time, thank you to I Love Ponsonby for sponsoring this podcast, and for Pastel for hosting us to record this podcast. We will see you soon.